This is the audience again, and we have someone filming also. Alright, since September 11th, 2001, awareness of terrorism has gone exponentially high in America. Countless threats have been cut off due to the expansion of our government programs, but still hundreds are being plotted. While the war against terror is intent on protecting the U.S., it's not only in the U.S. War against terror is waged all across the world, all corners of the globe, and we need to make plans to ensure the safety of our citizens. The U.S. has already begun stepping up its efforts. Using 9/11 as a turning point, the U.S. has cracked down on security. David Mulhausen says that the U.S. government has been, quote, drastically reforming the federal effort on homeland security, breaking down communication walls between law enforcement and intelligence, providing law enforcement with better intelligence, gathering tools, and forging a national homeland security enterprise. And as all of you that have flown in the last 10 years know, airport security especially has been heightened. Although we do our part, the rest of the world is at war as well. Terrorism around the world is actually more frequent than it is in the U.S. Of the 34,345 terrorism incidents that have happened in the last 40 years, 7.8% were directed against the U.S. Our average fatality rate is actually higher than the rest of the world at around 2 per incident, and the rest of the world's around 1.79. But if you take away 9/11, our fatality rate goes down to 0.97. So basically, we have far less attacks. And excluding 9/11, we have a less average fatality rate. Now that we recognize what the war means to America and the world, let's talk about the future. Jenna McNeil, after stating 39 foiled terrorism attempts since 2001, gave us 5 lessons on how to prevent terrorism. Number 1 is terror training camps feed anti-U.S. behavior. Of the 39 plots she mentioned, at least 23 attempted or intended to attend the camps led by terrorism organizations. Number 2, early disruption requires early intelligence. In 35 of the 39 plots she mentioned, the law was able to dismantle the plots early in their stages, using undercover agents and the U.S. Patriot Act. The U.S. Patriot Act stands for Uniting and Strengthening America by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism. This allows for increased jurisdiction and surveillance of the U.S. government. Number 3, terrorism fixes its eye on many targets, but not everything. The problem the U.S. government has had is that it gives money to the entire infrastructure for protection instead of focusing on what is targeted the most. U.S. doesn't need to protect every bridge in America. It needs to protect the landmarks, like the Brooklyn Bridge, San Francisco Bridge. That's just an example, but that's what I'm talking about. Number 4, the public is important in stopping terrorist acts from happening, but it can't be the first line of defense. This kind of speaks for itself. Basically, the government cannot rely on us to identify terrorism acts. Now, an example of us identifying terrorism acts happened in Times Square actually of last year. A man tried to blow up a bomb in Times Square, but his suspicious activity was reported by a citizen, and Obama and his administration praised it as a victory for counterterrorism. Number 5, treating terrorism as standard law enforcement underestimates the threat. Obama, when he entered his term as president, was quick to change Bush's policies, but pretty soon he turned around and started adhering to them. First of all, with the Patriot Act, he was against it. Now he definitely supports it. And with military tribunals, when we arrest terrorists, they usually go through the judicial system of the military. But Obama wanted to change it to federal court, which caused huge upheaval, and he's now gone back to using military tribunals. The biggest thing, the one that made the most news, was Guantanamo Bay, which everyone remembers because soon after his election, he said, okay, we're closing down Guantanamo Bay. Executive order. But 2 years later, it's still functioning, and obviously he doesn't think it needs to be closed down anymore. McNeil says, quote, terrorism is much more than a matter of law enforcement, and there needs to be a legal framework by which to incapacitate and interrogate terrorists. As we worry about our own safety, safety of millions is at stake. We need to make plans for the future, and governments all over the world need to make plans for the future, how to ensure the safety of their citizens. And you're a part of the fight. You can't just sit idly by and be like, oh, the government will take care of the terrorists. No, you need to report suspicious characters and vote for programs that allow the government to protect us. Most terrorism is known as a world war. And though it's not the world war we all envision of nuclear devastation of World War III, it is a war that has spanned the entire world and has gone to every populated continent on the world